It's Thursday, January 29th, 2026, and it's official. We've got a bomb cyclone on the way, potentially impacting millions of you with heavy snow and strong winds. And what I'm seeing in the latest data is frankly unprecedented for this region. The signal we've been watching all week has now crystallized into what will likely become one of the most significant coastal winter storms in recent memory, with the potential to bring historic snowfall totals to areas that rarely see this kind of weather. Hurricane-force winds that could exceed 100 miles per hour over water, and a bombing process so intense that this system will rival the strength of a Category 2 hurricane. This is not the typical winter storm we discuss. This is a meteorological event that will reshape how we think about East Coast winter weather, affecting everything from the Carolinas, where some locations could see their heaviest snow in decades, to Cape Cod, where blizzard conditions with near hurricane-force winds are becoming increasingly likely. And the timing couldn't be worse, as we're still dealing with over 100 fatalities from our previous winter storm, and hundreds of thousands still without power across the South. Let me walk you through exactly what's happening here, because this storm system represents a textbook case of explosive cyclogenesis that's going to unfold right before our eyes over the next 72 hours. The signal we've been tracking all week is now official, and I can very clearly say that a major coastal storm is going to form off the southeast coast this Saturday. The headline here is going to be Bomogenesis, and I know we talked yesterday about how that might sound a little hyped up, but it's absolutely real. Bomogenesis is a legitimate meteorological process that occurs whenever a low-pressure center rapidly drops at least 24 millibars in 24 hours. And it's just a sign that the storm is going to get excessively strong in a very short period of time. What usually happens in these scenarios is somebody gets absolutely hammered with snow and wind. And what's going to be different about this one versus our last storm is the wind component. We're going to see a real blizzard somewhere, potentially in the outer banks of the Carolinas, which is pretty remarkable when you consider the latitude we're talking about. But the potential is also there for the Cape Cod area to experience similar conditions. I'm tracking this low forming off the Georgia and South Carolina coast early Saturday, intensifying rapidly Saturday night, and then passing just southeast of Cape Cod by Sunday morning. The system is going to move pretty quickly once it intensifies, which is why on Saturday into Sunday, we have an enhanced risk of at least moderate winter storm impacts, stretching from Columbia, South Carolina, up to Asheville, over to Greenville, and yes, Richmond and Virginia Beach are included in this forecast zone. Charlotte and Raleigh are also in this purple risk area, and there are quite a few people in this zone who need to understand that this is not going to be an ice problem. This is not going to be a freezing rain or sleet situation. This is snow territory, and we're talking about significant accumulations. As the storm travels up the coast between Sunday and Monday, our risk area shifts a little farther offshore, but there are still places that will see snow and impacts from this system. We're talking about potential flurries and coastal flooding from Washington, D.C. all the way through the entire state of Delaware. And then New Jersey and New York City will get in on some of that action as well. The real heavy snow might be possible over here in extreme southeastern Rhode Island, and of course Cape Cod, where it's possible that Boston sees some snow, but the worst conditions are definitely going to be from Cape Cod up to down East Maine and then continuing into Canada. I want to show you how this evolves hour by hour, because the progression is really quite remarkable. Here's a thin band of snow around 10 a.m. Friday morning forming over my area. This is going to be the first step of what will eventually become our multi-phased, significant storm system. Watch how that transforms into moderate snow over the northwest side of the Appalachian Mountains. All of our moisture starts showing up on the southeastern side of our low-pressure system, and then we've got ourselves a full-blown storm system by Saturday at 10 a.m. We've got heavy snow back here in northeast Georgia, extending into the higher elevations of North Carolina, northwest South Carolina, and eastern Tennessee. We've also got moderate to heavy snow starting to form in the Piedmont region, and the European model shows a significant snow event across the entire state of South Carolina. By 7 p.m. Saturday, we've got multiple places potentially seeing more snow than they've seen in quite some time in South Carolina. And notice how we also have that snow breaking out into southeast Virginia and southern portions of Maryland and Delaware. That storm is just getting incredibly strong off the coast, potentially provoking blizzard conditions along the Outer Banks by 7 a.m. Sunday morning. This is going to be remarkable to observe. 30 to 50 mile per hour winds ripping along the Carolina coast, causing coastal flooding, while it's also snowing heavily around this same time. This 968 millibar low-pressure center is similar in intensity to a Category 2 hurricane. So this is going to be an absolutely wild storm system. It would be one of the greatest storms of all time that we all remember if it were just positioned a little bit farther to the west. If this thing was directly impacting the I-95 corridor between Washington, D.C. up to New York City through Boston, this would be one of the all-time great storms. But it's still going to be a quite memorable event. Depending on snowfall amounts, this could be a somewhat historic storm for the Carolinas. Watch how those winds ramp up as this system develops. We're talking about 40 to 50 mile per hour wind gusts back here on the western side of that low-pressure center as it forms up over Alabama and Georgia. We're going to be seeing some incredible winds, potentially over 80 miles per hour, over the water near the Outer Banks on Saturday evening. But even over land, we're talking about 30 to 40 mile per hour gusts around Charlotte and Raleigh. And this is just going to be quite the powerful storm. 100 mile per hour winds are possible over the water just off of the Carolina coast as we get into 5 a.m. Sunday. This is going to be a pretty windy storm, even up there towards the northeast, and some of those 50 to 70 mile per hour winds are also going to hit the Cape Cod area. Places further inland, like Richmond, Virginia, I don't see huge winds in that area. I think 30 to 40 mile per hour wind gusts are going to be the biggest problem in Columbia, Charlotte, Raleigh, Richmond, up to Washington, D.C. But the closer you are to the coast, the more likely it is that we're going to see those strong winds, and that's going to cause a coastal flooding problem as well. Put all this together, and over the next 3 days, we're going to have major travel implications in the red-shaded areas. We're talking about places like Rock Hill and Bennettsville, Charlotte, Winston-Salem, Raleigh, Fayetteville, Goldsboro, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, Elizabeth City, and there might even be some places that experience extreme impacts on the roads and in daily life over here towards eastern North Carolina. It has been a long time since anybody in these areas has seen anything like this. Don't be out on the roads, and be prepared, because it's literally going to be a blizzard. No matter whether we get 3 inches of snow on the ground after this is all said and done, or 15 inches, it's going to be blizzard conditions while it's happening, and you're not going to want to be outside dealing with that as the storm moves through. So how much snow are we actually talking about here? Let me zoom in and discuss everywhere, but let's start down here in the bullseye zone in the Piedmont region of the Carolinas. Right now, the National Blend of Models, which is a conservative blend that combines all of the models together, is showing 4 inches in Columbia, 6 inches in Charlotte, 6 inches in Asheboro, 8 inches in Raleigh, and 13 inches in Kill Devil Hills, maybe 10 inches in Greenville, 6 inches in Richmond, and 11 inches in Virginia Beach. But here's something I need to say, specifically for Raleigh. 8 inches might be on the high side, because we've got to be thinking about the risk for dry slots. There are going to be 2 storm systems hitting Raleigh, essentially. To put it very simply, we're going to have a low-pressure center, or big bomb cyclone forming off the coast that's going to put snow onto Raleigh, potentially. But the heaviest snow axis for that system is probably going to be closer to the coast. But then there's going to be a secondary low that forms back here, west of South Carolina, and that's going to bring in some heavier snow in that area. What might happen is while these 2 low-pressure systems are working in tandem with each other, they could steal moisture away from Raleigh, and there might be a dry slot that ends up forming there that produces less snow for all of the areas in the middle, including Columbia, Charlotte up to Raleigh, maybe even Richmond, and then actually puts down more snow on the periphery. It wouldn't be surprising to me if some places got more than 11 inches in eastern North Carolina in this situation. But this is just one of the many scenarios that could unfold. Down here in the Delmarva Peninsula, I think we have a pretty good chance of seeing around 7 inches of snow possible. I know a lot of people in the Washington, D.C. and Baltimore area were concerned about more snow, but anywhere from Lexington up the I-81 corridor over to Hagerstown, to Washington, to Baltimore, I think a general 1 to 3 inches is a good safe bet. In Philadelphia, we might see closer to 2 to 4 inches, but if you're in southeast New Jersey, Atlantic City could see up to 8 inches of snow. I think that's on the high end, but it is possible. 4 inches is possible in New York City, maybe a little bit more than that out on Long Island. The one place where I'm pretty confident we're going to see significant snow is Cape Cod. 15 inches might be on the low end out there as the storm passes through. This is also going to be a place where we have a serious blizzard with hurricane-force winds. 7 inches in Providence and Boston might be on the high end of things, and I think it's going to be a very sharp cutoff between who sees snow and who doesn't. Down East Maine, a widespread 2 to 4 inches is going to be possible, maybe 3 to 6 inches over here in extreme eastern portions of Maine. And Nova Scotia, Halifax, you guys are going to get buried with over a foot of snow, and you're going to have that big blizzard as well with hurricane-force winds. Now let me show you something remarkable. We're going to have Gulf effect snow. You know how we have lake effect snow in the north? Well, it's so cold after the storm goes by that we're actually going to have Gulf effect snow in Florida. This is real. We might actually see snow in Tampa. Literally, a coating of snow is possible in Tampa by the time this is all said and done. We're going to see snow flurries potentially around Orlando, Jacksonville, Daytona Beach. Some models are even showing the possibility for very light snowflakes possible in the Bahamas, which would be the first time this has happened since the 1970s. The winter of 1977 was pretty remarkable, and that was the last time we had snow in the Bahamas. The reason for this is our unrelenting cold. Sunday morning is going to be brutally cold across Florida. Our actual temperature is going to be 23 degrees in Tallahassee, 21 in Stark, 35 in Tampa. The wind chills are going to be 10 degrees below that, creating dangerous cold conditions. This is not just sweater weather. We are looking at a hard freeze likely for the Nature Coast, and freezing temperatures potentially reaching as far south as the interior suburbs of Tampa and Orlando Saturday night. The National Weather Service in Tampa is calling this extremely hazardous for marine interests and dangerous for vulnerable populations. It's also going to be cold everywhere else. We're talking about a low of 23 in Dallas, 20 in Oklahoma City Sunday morning, 2 degrees in Indianapolis. And for our friends back in the areas still dealing with power outages, I've got another update on the death toll from our most recent storm. It's over 100 now, which makes that the most deadly winter storm and cold outbreak since the major power crisis in Texas. The death toll continues to go up, and it's really bad out there. We've got people on the ground right now, including storm chasers helping people out, and it reminds me of the aftermath of a hurricane in some of these areas. The good news is that power is being restored, and many places will be back online today. But the bad news is that the cold keeps coming. Sunday is going to be really cold in Memphis, Nashville, Oxford, 12 degrees. It's going to be even colder in the Great Lakes and Ohio Valley, with negative temperatures in upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, up into Toronto, Montreal, and Quebec. Is any warmth on the way? Yes, for some areas in the north-central United States and Great Plains, even portions of the South, it's coming over the next 10 days. But it's not coming for us on the East Coast. There's no end in sight with the cold air. Things might get a little more normal closer to the Mississippi River Valley, but below-average temperatures are likely to continue for the East Coast for the foreseeable future. This bomb cyclone represents everything we've been tracking and warning about, and the impacts are going to be widespread and significant. Make sure you're prepared for what could be days without power in some areas, avoid travel during the height of the storm, and stay safe as this historic system develops over the next 48 hours.